Good afternoon. Here's the disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing in this video is financial advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial product. All content is for informational purposes only, based on my own personal opinions and experiences. Trading futures, options, and other financial instruments involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for every investor. You can lose more than your initial investment, so always do your own research and consult with a licensed financial professional and trade at your own risk. So here's the day today. Quick summary of the day. It was pretty in line with my plans. We came up. Alright, let me get my pen. So we came up, and this was settle. Settle, I can't remember the exact price, but it was right here. I think maybe we broke it by a couple ticks. Came up, tested settle, which this settle to prior high, this range was really important to me. And so, yeah, you came up, you got a super clear test, retest, and then a clear rejection. Here, I'll show my trade. And so on this impulsive move lower, so we had an impulsive move lower and we pulled back to the VWAPs, which I call DGPs sometimes. If I reference DGPs, it just means day generated prices. So I pulled back perfectly to the VWAP and gave this super clean zipper break. So he broke down. And so then as soon as you broke here, I think I put my order right here at 59.05 or 59.04 for a quick, recheck to then hold VWAPs and continue lower. Didn't film me and I missed it. Or didn't film me, but I did what I was supposed to do. So that just wasn't my trade. Really well executed, really good read, really good patience. So yeah, nothing you can do about that. That's the game of trading sometimes, right? You're just not going to get filled. And so then we continued all the way lower. We popped below overnight. We popped below prior low. That's what it was. And obviously we found a bid down here, a passive buyer. And so this was the trade I took, which was fully an error. It was a full stop. It was short. And it was an error for multiple reasons. So the first error was FOMO, which is just fear of missing out. This is my first week trading live in a while. I've been on sim for the past year pretty much. Just getting a working process pretty much. That's what I've been doing. And this week I decided to finally go live, and so that plus I came in this morning too outcome oriented, right? I was too focused on ending the week strong, and then it's sort of that feeling increased when I missed this trade, or when I didn't get on this trade. I didn't miss it. Like I said, it just wasn't my trade. And so that stuff, it's never one thing specifically, but it's those little things that just build up and then lead you to making dumb decisions pretty much. And so I marked it down as a FOMO error, but it's also it's not a valid pullback, and I can explain why, for me at least, because one, decent low. It was a decent low, which always is a bit off-putting for continuation. You want to see a bit of a weak low, but it's good enough where you could lean on it because there was a seller down here, right? So sellers were still interested down here. But that's not the main reason. So you pull back, you're starting to pull back, you break back into IB range, and you're right at VWAP again. And so it looks like we found our seller, right? 317, hit the bid here. And then we checked higher, and it comes down, and it does a bit of a very tight, very small zipper break, which is what I entered off of, which for me is a mistake, because this line here is overnight low and RTH VWAP, and so a good zipper break would have been able to at least get a range extension below this, which I think for crude a range extension is 6 ticks or 8 ticks, but it went literally like 1 or 2 ticks, so it's not a valid zipper break, so it becomes not a valid lean, right? But because of the FOMO feeling, I got on anyway, and I got on 1017 half, and not even 2 minutes later I was stopped out. Took a full stop pretty much instantly, you did end up getting the push lower, and IB low was all I was targeting for because this was a pretty big range. So if I had a runner and I managed it, maybe I would have gone for the continuation if it looked good. But initially, I had it set for IB low, I believe, which you did get. But nevertheless, the trade is still in error. It was a full stop, so it was on this exit strategy. It was negative 33 ticks, and ticks and dollars in crude are 1 to 1 for the micro. Each tick is $1, so it was negative $33 on the day. Not terrible. Like, I mean, errors are gonna happen. For next week, what I'll probably do is just avoid the Friday trade because it is easy to come in on Friday and want to like pretty much make your week in one day because it's the last day of the week's ending. And so I'll see if I keep my last live day to Thursday, but it's not actually the end of the week. We'll see if that helps to, mitigate so this mistake doesn't happen again. And yeah, I mean, now that it has happened, we're at least more aware of it. So that will also help. And it was something I was aware of even in the morning. I remember driving home from the gym early before I had even done any prep, and having that sort of antsy feeling about wanting to have a good day because it's Friday, because blah blah blah, and it makes you too outcome oriented where you can't. For me at least, you don't see the quality setup, you just see the outcome at the end, which you're not guaranteed to get in trading, obviously, right? Every trade is 50-50. Um, so yeah, so like it was a build up. This was the trade of the day for sure. If I was able to get filled on this trade, it would have been the trade of the day. Definitely, I would have targeted the 50s on this trade. So I would have gotten like about half the move, about 55, which was the value metrics I talked about in the morning. It was yesterday's VPOC and yesterday's POC. So, yeah, full disclosure, right? Had an error today, lost money on the day due to a stupid mistake, and I mean, it's going to happen, but we want to try and mitigate the errors as much as possible. So I'll go through the video now, I'll pull it up. I'll show you quickly when this trade set up, and because I did put my order there, but it just left. So I'll just show that quickly over like 2 minutes, and then this trade was 2 minutes anyway, this error, so I'll just quickly summarize it again on the video, so just give me a second here. Alright, so here's where you got the initial test of Seto, came, get a rounded top, gave a retest, rejected, impulsive move lower, and you're pulling back to DGP, so now all I'm looking for is the price action setup to get on. Everything else is already in place, I know my bias, I know what I'm targeting, I know where I'd be wrong, so all I'm looking for is any cue to get on, basically. And so I remember this happened pretty slowly. So you got this first initial zipper, but it broke to the high side, and so the idea is not invalidated yet. And then you get boom, zipper break. So here's roughly where I put my order. Yep, there's my order. So I put it at 05 initially. I think I did end up moving it to 04 at some point, but I don't get filled. And it ends up continuing lower. You never gave a blue bar up to VWAP, which is where I would have wanted to enter. Like, on these trades, usually what I'm looking for... Oh, great. Oh, you just can't draw on the video. Is that what it is? Okay, well, anyway. Usually what I'm looking for is you see the zipper here? So the zipper breaks, and so then usually I'm looking between the low to the mid of the zipper for my entry on the next bar or the next sequence of bars for the entry, and my stop is always, or at least depending on the size, I always try to have my stop a couple ticks above the zipper. And so yeah, like if I were to have gotten on down here, like it wouldn't have been a good trade for me because I wouldn't have had enough to keep my stop above here. Like I just don't have that margin. And so then I was pretty much done for the day. And then boom, like invalid setup. I just got on quickly. I wasn't really thinking about it. And boom, you quickly automatically get stopped out. Boom. Right? And pretty much right after, like you can see, we got the push lower, right? I think it only went like maybe 4 or 5 ticks higher than where my stop was, but not a good trade. It's an error either. And so if it's going to be an error either way, I'd rather it be a loss, If you don't want to have a bad trade with a good outcome, because it reinforces bad habits. And so yeah, so I'm gonna have to just clip this up a little bit because I know there's my account and some files in there, but yeah, so that's the end of day trade review. Ended on a loser on Friday, but we'll be back next week and we'll start fresh. Still with live for the week. I won't show the whole stats, but for the week I'm negative 10 ticks. So $10. I lost $10 this week. I think I was up 23 before today, and then I lost 33 today on that full stop. So negative $10, not the end of the world. I'd say a good first week overall. Too many errors, but we're working on it. So yeah, I'll upload this and I'll be back Monday morning.